The first juloos in Manhattan was taken out on September the 14th, 1986. It was the first juloos in North America, and it was difficult to explain it to the authorities what we're going to do in the juloos. After showing them different videos and bringing them to different, at that time it was a couple of Hussainias, and then they allowed us to take out the procession. It was very small, around 200 people, and was only like 7 blocks of the city, from 50th Madison to 56th Street of Madison Avenue, and this is how we got our permission. We go with the lunar calendar, and it changes every year, and the city wants a fixed date for us. So we explained it to them, it's not possible because we do it different way, and eventually they accepted our explanation. This is the only juloos, I think, procession in Manhattan which is taken on different dates. So alhamdulillah, we got the permission, and we stayed only like few blocks, and was only like not more than 200 people at that time. This was the first procession which was taken outside of the in the city, and first one in all North America.
I think I must have been 11 or 12, because I grew up in Pakistan. But the juloos over here, I was 11 and 12, and I remember it was very surprising that all the things that I saw happen in the center now are outside in public, which it's kind of taboo. It's like you can't take your shirt off and beat your chest out in the public. So it's like two personas sort of like melding together. Your in mosque persona and your out of mosque persona, and now they're like by default they have to like combine and be one. It made me comfortable because I as a kid looked around to the people who are not Muslim and seeing their reactions, like are they comfortable with it? So that gave me an idea. Let's say my school friends in middle school, if I would have brought them home and they would have seen certain things, like would they be comfortable with it? So that gave me a little bit of comfort that they would accept it.
So the procession, the juloos, was started in 1986 in New York City, of course. As a child, I remember, I was only 6 years old around the time, but I remember, my mother would make me wear like this shroud with blood on it, stains on it, and I would walk with the other children who were also wearing that. Thinking about that, now it's all the symbolism in the procession that makes it so wonderful, right? The horse that's there, the alams, right? The actual flags of Hazrat Abbas that are there, as well as the sea of people wearing black, right? So I remember as a child seeing that sea of black, and I would look at the people on the sides. There were rows and rows of lines and lines of people from just watching, see what's going on, right? And I can see people handing out material and things like that. Again, I was only like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then eventually I got to the point where, I figured, maybe I can also contribute, right? At one point I was holding alam, right? This was a small alam my mother gave me. But then as the years progressed, and it came at the point where it was a small procession, and it became now hundreds of people, thousands of people that were coming, and you had lines of people who were also watching this procession.
Let me talk to the Christian, let me talk to the Jewish, let me talk to the Muslim and to the non-Muslim. Without following the line of Imam Hussein, there is no other choice. Only one line. Imam Hussein represents the authority of Ibrahim, the Prophet Ibrahim, and Prophet Moses, and Prophet Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi.
The reason we want to establish, because we first of all we came here from our countries, which we do juloos there too. And the reason, very important reason, was that we speak in our Hussaini, our Barga was a limited audience, In 1991, we took the juloos from Walter of Astoria, and there were a lot of tourists coming in, and they were when we told them, like in a way, speeches we made, and the flyer was distributed, and talk about Imam Hussein. And I think it was a message that we felt that the Karbala's message was the most important message in Islam, and it is the message of peace, a message of self-sacrifice, which no one have done up till now. You will notice now, after so many years, all the people around the neighborhood, they're very welcoming us, and they know what we're going to do, and somehow they have knowledge about the juloos. In the beginning it was different. So the reason why we do it, because we want to make this a message of Imam Hussein, not for our own self, but for the upcoming people of this country, and that was our mission, was just to impress. And what we did, we always gave every year different items. For example, flowers with a small story of Imam Hussein, a bottle of water if it is summer, and there was a story written on the bottle, and you would be surprised that we got a lot of phone calls from these inquiring about us, and that is very heartening in a way, that they come and ask. And there was so many examples we can give that people were so curious about Imam Hussein. One guy asked, "Oh, what happened? When was it happened?" So we told him it's 1400 years ago, and he was surprised, and he said, "Well, the message is still alive." And we told him this message is a universal message, and it is for humanity, not for any particular sect or religion. So that was the only issue, because we want to make sure that the message of Ahlul Bayt Imam Hussein ﷺ is being also told to those who do not know him, and those who want to know about Islam, and those a misconception about Islam should be taken out from their hearts.
Purpose of the juloos, in my opinion, is that the whole year basically we practice understanding Imam Hussein and loving Imam Hussein, learning about it, but the main message was never that. It was to sort of spread that message to the world. It wasn't for just the lovers of Imam Hussein. It was for those people to know about it, and to also enact change. It's become more ritualistic, and it needs to be more. So I feel like the procession is that very first step to making that change, implementing that change, bringing it to the awareness of the layperson in a way that they can understand it, that they can relate to it. Like the message that is distinct from just like being Islamic centric, but something like just having composure when you have bills to pay, when you have loss, that kind of composure, that kind of faith in Allah, that everything is just, gone and bleak, yet you still have that strength. Where's that strength coming? It's coming from Allah. Where's that love coming from? The person who killed Ali Akbar and you give him water, where's that love coming from? It's Allah. So these kind of messages, if we can convey that to the lay people, we assume that they wouldn't care about it, but you never know who needs what kind of message at all times. So yeah, I feel like that's the purpose of the juloos. I think it all depends on how you curate that. Because if you curate it in the right way, which is universal, I feel like everyone would gravitate towards the message of Imam Hussein. Everybody, because everyone doesn't matter who you are, how bad or evil, how rich, you have a heart. So you're gonna be susceptible to the message of Imam Hussein, because the whole event of Karbala is just all love. Everybody's attracted to that message.
I began to think, what can I do, right? How can I contribute to the message of Imam Hussein? How can I help, these people who are organizing this procession? And I felt, because being born here, being raised here, I knew the language, I knew how to communicate. The least I can do is be able to, contribute to how the procession is described to the people who are on the street, right? Because everyone has their own way of describing things, right? I remember there were some pamphlets that were being handed out that had the history of the Karbala. Some pamphlets that were handed out that had the humanism of Imam Hussein, right? So what we did was, it was a few years ago, I think, it's been almost 5-6 years now, we came up with this idea, how can we take what we see, how can we convey it and communicate it with the non-Muslims by also taking the aspects of the procession, right, the symbolisms, and really, inspire them, right? So we took for example, the Zuljana. How do you inspire a non-Muslim with the Zuljana? So we talked about the loyalty of this horse, the stallion, right? We talked about, the loyalty and the way the Imam Hussein alayhi salam respected this horse, right? And by having it, by being able to convey that message, they would say, "Tell me more about this Hussein. What's going on here? Oh, this happened 1,400 years ago? It seemed like it just happened yesterday, the way you guys are on the streets." And that's the constant messages we want to portray. Like the chest beating, what does that mean? Why are you guys beating your chest? Well, it means, different cultures have different ways of mourning, but it's also symbolic, right, of the horses that trample on the bodies of those martyrs of Karbala. And that opens up the story again. What? They actually, had their horses trampled after they were dead? And then you start conveying the message. What is Imam Hussein? What was he doing? What is what was his message? And the beautiful thing about Imam Hussein is, depending on which person you're talking to, they have a different message that they are inspired by, right? So you can talk about the message or the relationship between a father and a daughter in Karbala. You can talk about the relationship between a brother and a sister, or a brother and a brother, right? And you can talk about the humanistic love and the hope and faith that messages that are also are conveyed in the events of Karbala, with all, not just the Muslims, but the non-Muslims as well. One of the messages of Imam Hussein and the juloos, right? It was the being able to, how you would confront injustice, right? Because when I was being raised in the U.S., we went through 2 wars, right? We went through the Iraq War in '91. I remember I was, in middle school at that time, and by default, even though I'm not from Iraq, I was the Iraqi, right? So everyone's making fun of you, ridiculing you as you're growing up. But it's wonderful because you try to figure out why, right? Why is this happening in Iraq? Or, why is, I'm not, we don't like Saddam Hussein, so, why is it happening to us, right? So again, Muharram, especially the juloos, it makes that connection for me at least. It's like, it doesn't matter who's being oppressed, right? It doesn't matter if it's a Muslim or a non-Muslim. It doesn't matter if it's, people from different regions, right? That the idea to rise and to write about or talk about or about injustice is key for my faith, at least is my beliefs, right? I can pray namaz, I can fast, I can pray salah, but that's not doing anything for my neighbor, right? But if I see my neighbor, if I see, if I have friends that are black or I have friends that are Native American, I see them being, in a systemic racism, and I see them not being promoted, for example, at work, or I see them not getting the right education, right? What can I do to change that, right? And those are all the messages that I get from Imam Hussein.
We say, La yawm ka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, O Aba Abdullah. But we also come here to say, Ya Aba Abdullah, if we couldn't make it to Karbala, then here we are today, marching on the streets of Manhattan to say, Labbayka ya Hussain! Labbayka ya Hussain!
when you go to the city, this is how, from top brass to the one of the cops in the same precinct, they come, oh, you are the one who breathes the chest. This is how they identify, and they are so happy with us in a way. There's no garbage, there's no thing we go, and very calm and peace. And whenever, even if we ask them for permission for demonstration in different issues, they never give us a hard time right away. And then our name is recognized in a way that is one of the best procession they have, which is very less problems, no garbage, nothing like that, and is very calm, quiet, and they do their own thing. And now the city will not allow, and they don't have any new permit for anyone. Even we try for, even our Buddhist community tries for different, for the Prophet's birth, they won't give because there was no. So this is also, I think we feel proud in a way that we, at the time, we didn't know, but it happened to be that we got the permit in such a manner that no one have it, and we are very distinguished that we go in a route which none of juloos goes in that route, you know. So that makes us like in a, we have to, a lot of improvement should be made. That is there, but we are proud in a way that it's been established. The route is there already, and city is welcoming us all the time. And even last year, this is, I want to bring out the point, was so, no one was allowed to make a gathering or, like a juloos like that or procession, but we was allowed to do that, and we're very thankful to the city for that.
The juloos has evolved in numbers, I've noticed. Also, it's evolved in the groups that it attracts, because it was before, it was just Indo-Pak, and now I'm just seeing everybody, and I feel like they don't think that it's like an Indo-Pak run operation. They really feel like it's for them, it's for the lovers of Imam Hussein. And then just very recently, about 3-4 years ago, Kabbalah Walk, started with the English float. So that changed everything, and a lot of people who wouldn't be coming to these processions, they started coming just for that section. So Kabbalah Walk is basically this idea that we need to, besides doing the procession for ourselves and expressing love for Imam Hussein, we also have a responsibility on our shoulders to convey that message to the layperson who's maybe perhaps walking by, or somebody who's videotaping. So Kabbalah Walk basically started with that idea, and now it's evolved into basically a canvas for anybody who wants to express, themselves in English. In any way, if you have art that you make, poetry, you want to do a speech, anything at all, do it in English. Do it in a way that not only the lay people around Manhattan can understand it, but like the young generation who does not understand Urdu or Arabic, like they would be able to understand it.
Yeah, I think the evolution of a juloos has been, and I call it evolution on purpose because it has been an evolution, right? So initially, it was basically transposing what was happening in the Middle East or in Asia and India, Pakistan, and bringing it to the U.S. Same language, only difference was we have pamphlets that we hand out, right? But everything else was the same. Everything was Urdu, or it was in Farsi, or it was in Arabic. But as and there was, obviously chest beating and everything else, but as the procession, the juloos evolved, you see, I think it was maybe 5-6 years ago, we introduced the English float. Right, the first time there was an English float where you had English speakers. We had, people who were raised in the U.S. in America who didn't really know the language that their parents or their family spoke, but they could relate to English. They could relate to the poetry of English. Maybe they weren't able to recite them in the mosque, but they were, or in the Imam Barga or the Hussainia, but in the float they were given the chance to speak and to recite and to convey their feelings of Imam Hussein. And that, and interesting enough, it wasn't just Muslims. I mean, what I'm talking about Muslims, they're from Pakistan or from India, but there were also reverts and converts who also joined, right? And then we had, again, when this English float would happen, you would see a large group of Muslims and non-Muslims also listening and finally figuring out what is it that these people are doing, right? Because art and poetry is amazing.
Tell me of a man in history 1400 years that has moved and inspired and motivated and captivated and won the hearts and minds of people other than Hussain ibn Ali.
We come from the Pakistan, and Pakistan is so many alums in the juloos. When I was here, is very few alums, and I was very looking at it, and I really want to take the alums. So it was a struggle, very tough to arrange the bamboo poles in US. So I found a way to find a bamboo poles in Georgia, and I want to make sure alam is tall enough so people look at that flag and they look at it and they want to see why we carrying, what is the reason, and why this alam is so tall, and why you picking up. Because people said you can put it on wheels and roll it. No, it's not that. It's the most important thing, you pick up the alam. So we figured the way out to bring the poles from Georgia about 60 foot, but we cut it to 54, 55, and it's a 60-foot tall alam, and we pick up all our anjuman. I believe Imam Hussein's brother, Abul Fazl Abbas, he's the one who's in charge of the army, so he's given by the flag from Imam Hussein to him. That is the reason we love him dearly, and that is the reason I want to pick up the alam so people can see his importance, his bravery, and he devoted to his brother, his religion, Abul Fazl Abbas. And when we did it, so I saw people stopping on the street on Park Avenue, and they asked people, why are you carrying it? It's so beautiful. And it's just amazing. And once you pick up the alam, it's just a feeling in your body change. And it's not easy to pick up that alam. It's 60 foot tall. It's really hard. But once you have on your shoulder, we don't know where we get the strength from. And we carry and walk all the way up to 15-20 blocks, and I believe we like to convey the whole Imam Hussein message to public, and it's just every single bit adds up. Alam, Zuljana, when they see people, why they beating their chest, is a human nature. When they see something, they ask you a question, why are you doing this? So we explain it to them why we're doing it. So that's why I want to make sure alam is tall. And this is the only alam in North America. It's the tallest alam in New York City. So that's amazing. One of the biggest city, one of the most important city, and is in that city we pick up the alam of Abul Fazl Abbas.
It's really important to, again, express the message of Imam Hussein outside of the four walls of your Husseini or your Islamic center, right? And being able to do it in the city, in New York City, and be able to attract, because there's a lot of things that happen in the city, right? There's a lot of parades that happen in the city, right? But what makes this parade unique, or what makes this procession unique, is that everyone who's part of it, right? Everyone who comes to it, they're not watching it, but they're part of this procession. And because of that reason alone, it also becomes like almost like a way to spread the message, but also attract people to you. And because New York is that melting pot, and it has that tolerance level, you can actually convey the message, and the person would be like, yeah, it sounds really interesting. Where else can I learn more about it, right? So that's why we even created this website called KarbalaWalk.org, where we put stuff in there, just enough information to get someone interested, and then we have links to other sites that give more details, right? There were a lot of people giving their own message, right? And some people were talking about it, we're against terrorism, right? Some people were saying we're for love. There were many different messages that were coming about. So we had to somehow say, listen, we need to consolidate these messages in a single pamphlet or a single website, and we noticed that if we give up, for example, a pamphlet to someone, I literally saw someone just throw it in the garbage. So how do we get them to keep it and maybe even go to the website or get more information about it? So we kind of changed things around. So for example, one year we gave flowers, right? One year we introduced water bottles. Then we started giving out pens. So we try to evolve and try to keep things new. So again, to get the people, because we are in the city, we have thousands of people watching us. why not just, use that opportunity to spread that message?
I know there's a hadith by Imam Ali which says that you should always live in the concentrated cities. So there has to be some kind of logic there. If Imam Ali is saying that, so New York City is like the most concentrated, the most diverse. So the message of Imam Hussein definitely needs to be in this type of city. And I think it's a blessing for the city that Imam Hussein's procession is there, not the other way around at all. So I feel like it's just something that resonates more because there's diversity and then there's a open-mindedness to the city. So I feel like it'll resonate even more in this city.
There is a famous saying of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. A person came to Imam Jafar and asked that I'm going to a different cities and I want to do a tabligh. So just guide me or suggest me what to do. I want to do a tabligh, like I said. So Imam said, make sure you do not speak a word. So a biggest reason bringing the juloos on a road, especially in New York City, first of all, whatever happened in New York is a metropolitan city, and whatever happened here goes to the whole world. And bringing the juloos on a road was one of the biggest reasons explaining to the Western world that we Shia Muslims are different. We are organized. We are kind people, and our biggest, goal is the humanity. So when people start seeing it and they start questioning about it, and we left the people around the juloos answering their question, explaining them what is happening. So they start searching about history of a Shia Muslim, and then that's how they get connected to us, and we start getting calls among the different communities, and then we got connected with them.
This is a metropolitan city, and this city have a people from all over the world. You can find any culture, any religion, any country. So this is perfect. You cannot find a city in this world where the people come from all over the world. And this is the place for us to take that message from Imam Hussein and present it to these people and show them.
New York City is a city which is actually, we call is melting pot for everyone. We, in the juloos, we saw Jewish people, black Muslims, local blacks, Haitian people, and we get even Guyanese was there. A lot of Guyanese people were there. Guyanese people coming to us, and some of them said that, this was we used to do it there too. So the point I'm making is this city is not a city like that. For Pakistan, for example, we go to Pakistan, there's a Pakistanis only, no other, the very large, small number. Same thing with either Islamic countries we go, they're all Muslims, But in New York, there was a variety of people from different things. And even, passerby sometimes comes and they say, well, message is very strong. And this should be done for all over, everybody should do the same message, If you follow the juloos' history, we see that a lot of people take pictures and then sell the picture to the, like a local pictures taken. They had happened a story in New York, in Times, there was one story about a few years ago. And this story in U.S. News and a different media house. So that gives a more exposure to us, that what religion we stand for. While Imam Hussein inspired everyone, including me, is that his self-sacrifice and his message was very loud and clear, and he understood that yes, Yazid was not he's a whatever you call him, but actually it was the public, it was Ummah which he had to change. And that is why someone asked him, why did you leaving Medina? He did not say anything. He said, I want to reform the society of Muslims, society in general. So for me, the message is that in the battlefield of Karbala, it is not only the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, but the way it is done. The way it is done, that there is discipline, there is unity among the thoughts of everybody, and there is such a character of Imam Hussein that he was so kind in these words. He never get any angry with the enemies in such a manner. And even we have Hazrat Hor, which is very important, but there's a lot of other people who came in and accepted the apology, and he did anything. So we want to be like him. That's the whole thing. We want to be like him. People should remember us that yes, Imam Hussein was a man who knew everything, but he sacrificed himself. And we also believe that he was one of the pious person, Imam of us, and he would make a dua, everything can happen. But when it comes to test, he never made any dua in a way, but he took the test and to show us that as a human being what can be done. It is the name of Imam Hussein which every person, even if you look at the American history and even the history of India or history of anyone, read about him, his heart changed, and even Nelson Mandela also thought about him and he to go through the hard times, So it is is an inspiration for us. Anyone who wants to do any good work is Imam Hussein is this example, and the battlefield of Karbala is one of the best example for us in a way that all the teachings of Islam has been there within like short period and short time, and the role of woman is very important too there. So alhamdulillah, I think inspired us, and it is it is very great. Whenever you do anything by Imam Hussein, you feel proud in yourself in a way that you're doing something good, because he is one who saved Islam from the clutches of Yazid and all that.
Imam Hussein inspires me to just stay composed, and always be strong. Three things: always be strong, always be loving, always be hopeful of Allah. And no matter how bleak things get, just always be positive, because if he could bear through that, and also just like in my personal life outside of that, I feel like Imam Hussein, he as his uncle said, that he didn't care for how big the army was. He would stand up for the progress of Islam, which is really progress of the world. So a lot of people, whether they're Muslim or not, right, whoever's fighting for progress, it's always a lot of resistance. The message of Imam Hussein is, even if there's like a huge battalion, even if everyone is just like sort of like shutting down your message, but you have to stand up for progress. And that's how it's always been for anyone who's made a difference in society, a positive difference for humanity. They've had to go through that resistance, and they've had to overcome that resistance. So for me personally, I always remember that anytime I'm doing a good service of a small level or a larger level, I always think that you have to overcome resistance.
Imam Hussein alayhi salam inspires me in many different ways, because the message of Imam Hussein is multifaceted, right? So depending on the situation that I'm in, for example, we organize a lot of protests in the U.S. When we see things happening overseas, like in Yemen, in Palestine, in Kashmir, those are things. Those are the reason why we do it. The reason why I do it is because of the message from Imam Hussein, right? The way I communicate with my family, again, it's from the message. It's from the events that I get inspired by, right? How did Imam Hussein talk to his sister? How did he talk to his, to his kids, his children, right? Those are things that I think are very important.